We're in the dressing room and that intro tape rolls. And then the whole world changes, you know, and you open up the dressing room door and you hear that knock, you know, 5 minutes. Okay, let's roll. You ready? Let's go. Towel on the shoulder, glass in hand, flashlight. We're on our way to the rock and roll stage. And I'm taking care of Ronnie James Dio. I mean, I don't think anything gets better than that. I would always be the kid who next day came in with the shirt on and the front row seat that I you know, caught enough guitar picks and memorabilia from bands back then that should be on the walls, but my restaurant's not like that. It's not the hard rock, frankly, toy. My dream was to meet Ronnie James Dio and shake his hand and tell him, and thank you very much for all the music that you made that helped me through a really difficult part of my life. I went to the Meadowlands Hilton to meet this guy, and the limousine pulls up, and Ronnie gets out of the car, and I go to shake his hand and tell him thank you. And he says, wait a second. He says, just hang on. He says, come on in the hotel. And we sat down, we had about a 3-hour conversation, which, you know, at that point, I was in awe. Not only now, I transitioned from being a fan and I'm talking to the guy. Black Sabbath had just broken up and he went on to form the rock band Dio. And I was a little bit bummed out because I had just met him and now the band had broken up. So I was like, wow, this is, you know, how am I going to meet him again? I went in my car, turned on the radio, and I heard live at the Beacon Theater, Ronnie James Dio, October 25th. So there I was. I mean, I waited at the sound check door, you know, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the limousine pulled up. Ronnie got out and said, I knew you'd be here. We sat for like 4 hours upstage, and from that night became friends for 30 years. From one band to the next, everybody knew each other. So I was indoctrinated into a great family of rock and roll people that showed me a lot of great stuff. There was Black Sabbath, and the album was Dehumanizer. I was on tour with them then. And then, of course, when they came back to do Heaven and Hell, because they didn't want to call it Black Sabbath recently, I was involved with them then. I mean, so I got to meet all these other people, from Van Halen to Poison to one of my friends, Joe Bon Jovi, you know, but, you know, only seeing it from like that backstage view. One of the best experiences I ever had was like me and Bret Michaels sitting in the front of the bus in the morning, waking up, bowl of Frosted Flakes, you know, driving across, I think where we were in California somewhere, and just, you know, putting on the Eagles, you know, and just listening to the Eagles eating Frosted Flakes in the front of a tour bus, you know, and just cruising down the road, you know. Those are the moments on the bus that are more memorable. And they couldn't even pinpoint what I did. Making sure that the cooler is full, making sure that the beverage is poured, basically handling him, taking care of his personal needs, and making sure everything hopefully was a little bit better. Sometimes just the voice in the ear, you know, making sure that, you know, that things were okay. All those things made me very sharp to the fact of how important it is that every night the show has to go right. And even in the restaurant business, every night, my wife in the kitchen is the main show, and in the front of the house, I'm like the host. I was taught by some really great people. I mean, Ronnie James Dio was like the best mentor, best friend, best teacher in the world that could possibly ever tell you how to go about taking care of people. You know, so I learned a lot from Ronnie. We had the whole restaurant in pieces when Ronnie passed. I haven't been to a live show since then. You know, I kind of put the music, not like if it fizzled out or anything. I put it on a shelf for a while. I mean, Ronnie brought this whole music thing to fruition for me. He brought this whole world to me. So without him in it, music, not that it doesn't mean anything, but it's a great thing that I'll listen to every day and I'll remember every day. But now in my other light, I use that to make the restaurant what it is.